Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Hellbound Podcast, talking about all things horror. And how are you, Michael?
I am well, and since you didn't introduce yourself, I'll introduce myself first. I am superstar D-list actor Michael Chan. And who are you? Who am I talking to?
I am the bearded one. I am Alex Blackburn.
I love how you're rubbing that in because, you know, my Asian genes, yes, I am Asian. My Asian genes seem to prevent me from actually growing facial hair. I can go 6 months, and that's when I actually have a 12 o'clock shadow.
Wow.
Meanwhile, you have
incredible.
this gorgeous thing on your face, so I'm super jealous.
Yeah, it hides the fact I don't have a chin. It's just I feel like I look like a round bubble. So yeah, it's that's the reason I keep it. And plus, my wife would kill me if I got rid of it. So I'm just gonna.
Well, if you got rid of it, that would be an interesting horror film, right? She'll probably murder you.
Yeah, she probably would. She'll probably murder me for less reasons than that. We always have this joke because we've got house insurance, you know, to cover the mortgage if one of us passes away.
Yeah.
And she pretends to like do this kind of Chelsea kiss thing across my throat and says,
"Oh my god,
144,000." Or whatever the insurance was. So we always do this kind of murderous jokey thing. But yeah, anyway. So how was your Halloween, Michael?
It was good. It was really good. It's the first time my 3-year-old daughter actually kind of started to understand, not fully, but started to understand the whole Halloween thing. Like, you know, previously we took her to the trick-or-treat and obviously she didn't know what's going on, right? But now it's like she started off grumpy, started off a little like, why are we outside? It's freezing cold, and why are you trying to make me walk, you know, when it's dark? But then once, you know, she got out to all the different houses with the decorations and she's being given candy, and, you know, we keep repeating, you know, happy Halloween and trick or treat. She kind of got into it, and by the end of it she was just like walking house to house excitedly and asking for candy. So it was a pretty big success on that part.
This might be a bigger question, but how big is Halloween in Canada, and especially in the area of where you live? How kind of to have people with a lot of decorations?
Halloween is commercially huge, like absolutely massive. The only thing is, in the area where I live, for some reason it's been declining in interest. It's probably because our neighborhood's just getting older and older. Even though we have 2 schools in our neighborhood, it's just the people living in it are just getting older, and less people are decorating their houses. So for us, I mean, we would drive to streets where we see a good amount of decorations and then, you know, stop, park, and go house to house. Mind you, on my street we gave out candy, and then 2 other houses, one of them though, they went all out. Like, their driveway was this massive diorama of like moving like clowns and soul suckers and this pop-up ghost skeleton thingamabobby and tons of jack-o'-lanterns, including one of Kronk from Emperor's New Groove. But like, they went all out, and that was very appreciated. But elsewhere in the same city I live, there are multiple townhouse complexes where people there are telling me like, oh my god, we get like 200-300 kids a year. We can barely keep up, and that's because the houses are so close together, right? So and there are a lot of kids living there. So and then people from outside hear about this area, and then everyone just goes, and it's an absolute, it's chaos, you know. So it all depends on what area you live in, but generally I would say Halloween is pretty big. How about you? How about your area?
Because we live on an army base, you'd think it'd be a bit more a little bit more crazy, but very muted. There's a house down the street. It's quite a quiet street. It looks like something from A Nightmare on Elm Street or Haddonfield, Illinois in Halloween. So the area looks great for Halloween, but there's only a few houses on this street. There's kind of police officers and all sorts that are based here, so I'm not sure if that really has any impact. But there's one house at the end that has plastic tombstones and trees covered in spiders, and they've got a web that covers pretty much the whole house. So it's really quite impressive. It's muted. It's how I wanted to approach it, but just didn't have enough time this year. And I had a skeleton outside that was wrapped around the tree with hazardous signs and all sorts. So I had a few bits, but nothing serious. So next year's going to be an all like kind of blowout for that. And we had a few trick-or-treaters, and yeah, we'll kind of go into that in a little bit. But yeah, the one thing I wanted to say about this, and one of the reasons I asked you about Halloween in Canada is in the UK. It sucks. It sucks because I enjoy Halloween. I know you prefer Christmas as a holiday, but I prefer Halloween because
my wife prefers Halloween. So
yeah, I was denied Halloween as a child. I was given toffee apples, and that was it. And never allowed to trick or treat as a child. So it sucked. Exactly. And the supermarkets in the UK have the crappiest stand for Halloween decorations. And I've been to the US once or twice during Halloween, and there's just aisles of it, and that's what I wanted. So I need to go further afield next time to get my kind of decorations.
Well, be that one house, right? Be that one house that spreads Halloween joy to all.
So, Michael, I've got a little bit of follow-up, or FU, from last week.
Hey, I thought we were friends. FU, too.
Yeah, FU, too, mate. I think that's going to be a popular section. But, yeah, I wanted to kind of reflect on what we did last week. A good few people that I spoke to about the podcast really enjoyed it. I really liked what we were talking about, putting kind of layering ambient sound in. But what I noticed, the crackle of the fire, which was in this kind of haunted house, a recording that I had a license for, it sounded like there was a fault with the audio when you listen to it in the car. So there's kind of little crackles of fire. Didn't quite sound right. So I might kind of look at that again and change it, tweak that a little bit. If you're listening to this now, best thing audio experience is putting a pair of headphones on. That's the best experience you'll get from this.
I was listening to the episode itself in the car with my wife. And it was funny because at one point you had that door creak, except she thought it was a baby crying in the background.
That's great. I love that.
And she was like, wow, that baby's creepy. I'm like, that's not a baby.
Oh
but it worked.
Well, just for Jess, I'm going to put a baby crying in there somewhere. So.
Oh no.
See if you can spot it.
Sorry, honey.
That's all we have for FU, and I'm sure there'll be more of that next week. So, Michael, before we go on to the movies we watched, I want to talk to you about a couple of trick-or-treaters. I dressed as Ghostface because it was a simple outfit. I had the mask, the whole outfit, the knife. There's actually a brand of knife, which my plastic Ghostface knife was terrible. It had blood in it. It looked rubbish. But there was one trick-or-treater with his daughter, and she's dressed up as a little Wonder Woman. So she looked super cute. And I didn't scare her when it came out with a bowl of candy. I scared the dad more than anything else. He was like shit scared. He was like, okay. Do you want to ask? And then she was like kind of really excited, really happy. So yeah, that was really good. And the best way to approach that, especially with a costume and a mask, and I had black gloves on, black boots, was to not say anything. I didn't say a single word. I closed the door really slowly. I tilted my head like Michael Myers. And that was the whole experience for them.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
So yeah, I kept it in. We only had a few trick-or-treaters, but yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, we because we took our daughter and our nephew. Sorry, he's trans, so we're trying to sort out getting used to the pronouns. But we took our nephew and our daughter out to trick or treat, so leaving my mother-in-law to actually hand out the candy. Generally in my area we don't get a lot of kids, so if they come to our house they get a bag of candy.
The whole bag.
A lot of kids missing out here. Yeah, that's right. That's what you get for not coming to our street. I dressed up as Korg, and Jessica, my wife, dressed up as out of shape Thor. And we had because neither of us have a Mjolnir, so we just had our game controllers, and she had a can of Pepsi. But it was funny because we just went ghetto. We didn't want to go and buy anything, so I just wore gray. Actually, I'm in the out right now. I'm wearing literally what I was wearing as Korg. It's just a gray T-shirt. But you see, right now, you see Michelangelo from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was actually I turned it inside out. But anyways, and then my gray PJ pants, and then I printed Korg's face on a piece of cardboard, and then cut it out, and then put eye holes in it, and then just taped it to my face. So that was Korg, and then I wrapped a belt around my chest. And then Jess had a felt beard.
That was brilliant. It was inspired. Honestly, I saw it. I thought it was fantastic.
she's pregnant, so like it was the perfect thing to do, right? Like that belly is like, oh yeah, I let myself go. Oh. It's just, it all came together, so
Yeah,
it's perfect.
that was really nice, and it was so you too.
Oh yeah.
So before we talk about the movies, I kind of want to leave that towards the end a little bit. We posed a couple of questions to our Hellbound Horror Festival Instagram. So
right.
Michael came up with a couple of questions. What horror film did you watch this Halloween, and what's your favorite Halloween candy? Manny Fresh, and a great filmmaker and actor, he said chocolate Whopper Poppers.
I've never even heard of that.
He's based in Toronto.
Cool.
And
I'm gonna have to find these and try it, especially with a name like that, Whopper Poppers. I kind of want to know what that is.
Yeah, I do too.
You want to share some, Alex?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Whop some poppers.
Gorgor Girls, they said Haribo's. I think they're based in the UK, so it's like
no, I know what that is.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorites because I like the little kind of Coca-Cola bottles. And then as a child I used to pretend to drink the Coca-Cola. And then we have a mysterious answer, something called O. Henry, and I believe you know what that is.
I do. That's actually my favorite Halloween. Like it's a candy bar. It's like a nice chocolate peanut butter, some caramel candy bar that you can normally buy any time of year as a full-size bar, but I never buy it during the year. I only have it at Halloween because when I was young, when I was a kid, that was the favorite candy I would get when I trick-or-treated. So it's stuck with me for life.
Well, that's awesome. My personal favorite are Maltesers, or actually Cadbury's chocolate buttons, which I absolutely love.
Both good choices, man.
I'm just gonna sniffle a little bit. That's gonna get cut out or left in.
I'm sorry, I might have poisoned your water earlier, so you have another half an hour to live. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so we'll go on to, in a backward way, we'll go on to what people on our Instagram are saying about their what they watched over Halloween. Whenever I put kind of a question together or the artwork, I always try and put sci-fi horror in as well, because I don't want sci-fi horror to be left, because it's huge for me. Like The Thing, Event Horizon, Alien. I think it's like super important that we don't, those subgenres we're going to talk about in the future episodes, that we can highlight those too.
I do think sci-fi and horror tends to go hand in hand in a way.
It's the science, isn't it? It's the science.
A lot of sympathicalness. I don't even know if that's a word that goes into it.
Our first answer for that is from Florence, and she's from Argentina. She was submitted to the Isolation Film Festival 2. She said American Werewolf in London. That's a big favorite of mine. I love that. And
good one.
A little bit of an inspiration for our artwork as well. An unknown submitter said Spiral, Book of Saw, and Halloween 5 randomly. I can't remember which one Halloween 5 is. That Corey Feldman, maybe.
I don't even remember which one that is. Yeah.
And then we talked about Spiral last week. And Gorgor Girls again, they said Interview with the Vampire, and that's a good one. That's a real good one.
That's a good one to watch. Yeah.
That's almost like I need some more kind of anxiety-inducing horror in my Halloween. It's the only time I let it in.
I have too much anxiety right now in my life, so I don't need that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. The last thing I watched, and it's horror to a certain degree, was Squid Game, and that was just, I had to watch Seinfeld after watching an episode of that. So.
On that show, I love that show so much, but we'll get to it sometime in the future.
Absolutely. So, Michael, what were your Halloween movies? What did you watch?
So my wife and I watched 3 movies, and did I freeze?
Yeah, just for me anyway.
Oh, for you. Okay, once again, Doppelganger Michael Chan's, bringing us back from last episode, but Doppelganger Michael Chan's, I see you. I know you're trying to hack me. You're not going to break through my security, so nice try. And remember, I'm coming for you. You guys are all dead. Back to reverse order of movies in terms of how much I like them. The movie I liked the least was Halloween Kills, and that is a shocker. That was the one I was most excited about seeing. And the reason why I didn't like it was because I felt that the spirit of the Halloween movies was lost in favor of some very strange, almost social experiment / commentary turn, where it turned Michael Myers essentially into Frankenstein's monster and made you not sure who to cheer for. And that, I know in some cases that's a good thing, but in this, no.
We will definitely have to talk about that film in particular on an episode, definitely.
Yeah, it's because I don't want to spoil it, especially now that it's so new. You know, not a lot of people have seen it. I imagine. I was so disappointed. That was the one I really wanted to like. I was just like, honey, we have to watch this. We have to watch. And it's just nope.
There was two characters in a relationship. That's all I'll say. In a loving relationship that I loved what they did with them, if you know what I mean.
I do.
And I thought they owned the film for me, and the way they introduced and little moments, the way they kind of made sure each other was safe. Yeah, I kind of really enjoyed that. So we'll talk about that in a separate episode.
I know what you're talking about. Just because I didn't like it and I was disappointed doesn't mean I don't see the good.
I totally agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know exactly.
Like there are some good innovative kill moments. How about that?
Yeah,
there were some really innovative ones. Okay.
And some classics as well.
The second movie we saw is a movie that I continually forget the name, but thank God I remember it now. It's Night Teeth. It's a Netflix horror film about vampires. So it's like a world where humans and vampires made some kind of pact ages ago so that vampires will stay in the dark and not hunt humans unless we give them permission, yada, yada. There's territory groups, whatever. And apparently Megan Fox is supposed to be in it. And yes, she is, except I don't want to spoil too much, but when she shows up and what happens in that scene and her part in the film was so inconsequential that it was not worth even bringing her up. Now I'm trying to pull up on my phone cast list because I'm going to be honest with you, I barely know anybody. I barely even remember the character names. This is one of those films that you have fun while you're watching it. Like it's a fun little romp. You turn off your brain. You know, there's violence, there's romance, there's some actors, you know, but generally once it's over, your brain will just purge it. But you know you had fun.
That sounds like a Netflix movie trend.
Benny is the main character. I just wanted to mention him because I just want to say something about him specifically and what he did. His character name is Benny. He's played by Jorge Lendeborg Jr. So I'm getting really tired of the industry thinking that to make someone seem like they're timid and endearing somehow or kind of innocent is to make them stutter act. They made him stutter and stutter and stutter. And I don't mean like a speech impediment. I mean, it's like, and it's a directorial decision. I know it's not him because there are moments when he settles down and actually has a conversation, even when he's nervous, even when the character is nervous, the character is being timid, being vulnerable, where the director didn't make him stutter, and it was phenomenal. And I could see the talent there. But as soon as they switch back into this trope with his character, it pissed me off. But I would also like to mention that Alfie Allen, who's Theon Greyjoy in Game of Thrones, he's in this. He's a pretty big role. I won't say what it is. But when you have Alfie Allen using only 50% of his acting ability, and still he steals the show and trounces every single actor in the entire film, you have a problem. And I still think it's directorial because there's no way in hell they're all like this.
Yeah. Oh, that's
okay. I'm sure they're all talented. That's all I'm saying.
And that was Night Teeth.
Night Teeth. It's one of the top 10 films in Canada right now on Netflix, and which is why we watched it, because it looked, and the trailer looked decent. So, but like I said, I had fun. I enjoyed the ride. I had problems with it, but and anyone who watches it, I believe, will, if you just don't take it seriously, you'll have fun. but it's nothing to write home about. It's not like I'll ever rewatch it. It's not a cult classic. It's just a one time, one and done. I had a good time, and there you go.
Yeah, and Alfie Allen, I think he's he killed John Wick's dog in the first John Wick.
Right.
Or one of his goons did, I think. So that's interesting. And I might check that out for those reasons.
You should. Like, I actually do recommend people check it out, but you have to understand that you watch it once and that's it. Like, you're not gonna be blown out of the water, and then you're gonna like find a Blu-ray copy and get like special edition if they ever even come out with that, and buy pop figures. And this is not one of those. This is just literally one time, had fun, move on, find something better. Right? But you should watch it. You really should. It's fun. It's just, if you are looking for a good time, you know, and there's nothing else on your docket or your queue or whatever, just watch it. But okay, I'm coming to my favorite movie, and it was a shocker. It's the Muppets Haunted Mansion on Disney Plus.
I have Disney Plus. I didn't know that was a thing. I must watch that now.
You must. So some people might go like, come on, Michael, that's not a horror. Yeah, it's a horror film. I don't care if it's for families. I don't care if it's for kids. I will say this is the first time in decades that I have actually thoroughly enjoyed a Muppets movie at this level. This has all of the classic Muppets feel, not the modern, you know, what's his face who did the last one or last two, Jason Segel, the guy from How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
No offense to him, I love that guy, but he kind of butchered the Muppets. No, yo man, if you ever listen to this, I love you. I'm not here to knock you down, but dude, I know you could have done better. Anyways, I'm a huge Muppets fan. Growing up, Muppets were everything to me. So, you know, classics like the Muppet movie and the Muppet Christmas Carol, those are Muppet movies, you know? Yeah. And Haunted Mansion recaptured that feel, that old school Muppets feel that everyone loves about the Muppets, right? While and still staying modern references, some old school references, but some modern references as well, keeping things in creative ways of keeping things family friendly. You know, like Haunted Mansion had, like, if you've ever been on the ride, there are some moments, like there's guns, for example, and they find creative ways around that. But here's the other thing, like, I don't know if you've seen the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, I fell asleep in 2001. I enjoyed parts of it. Yeah,
I mean, it was okay, right? It was okay. Again, just like Night Teeth, you know, you watch it once and that's it, right? Muppets Haunted Mansion not only recaptured the essence of the Muppets themselves, it also brought the Haunted Mansion ride, the essence of that, to life in film form. And that is what shocked me, because there, you know, the Eddie Murphy one had the theme, but didn't, for me, never really, because I've been on Haunted Mansion. It's one of my favorite rides at Disney. I've been on multiple versions of it too. The Eddie Murphy one had the look, but not the feel. This movie Muppetified essentially the ride, and then built a story around it, and then just nailed the feel, and then brought the jokes along with it. You know, it's everything you would ever want in a Muppet movie. And and there are actually some kind of like make you jump out of your seat moments. I know it's not really a jump scare per se, but like I was shocked that there are a few times, you know, Jess and I went, whoa, okay, didn't see that, you know, didn't expect to jump in a family movie, but it's not like it's grotesque or anything. It's just they did a very good job of getting a certain pace and then suddenly hitting you with a little bit of horror, you know, that'll just make you go, ah!
Would you say that's I don't know if you can say it this way, would you say it's a classic Muppets movie now?
I do personally believe it should become one. It should be one, along with, you know, Christmas Carol, that everyone needs to watch. So now they have Christmas, they've had Christmas for ages, now they have a Halloween one, and this is the one.
I am absolutely going to check that out. I'm probably going to watch that tomorrow, actually, because I'm going through this kind of Nightmare on Elm Street jaunt through all the films, and that's quite a nice change. And when you described that to me, I was getting goosebumps because I love the Muppets. I love so much about it. And is it Christmas Carol with Michael Caine? That film is amazing. It's just absolutely astounding. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's fantastic. Was that for this year? Did they produce it for this year?
Yeah, it was this year. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I have to check.
It's an amazing achievement. I did not see this coming. I would never have even thought that would be my favorite movie in my Halloween run. Like, it just took me by surprise.
Isn't that great when you get surprised by cinema?
Absolutely.
And I'm classing Disney Plus as cinema, and especially Muppets.
I know. No, right? Like,
it's so nice to get pleasantly surprised. Jeez. It really is. And then you get the polar opposite, and this is horror, and I hated it, was Army of the Dead on Netflix. That's going to be one we talk about separately. I passionately dislike a lot of freedom that Zack Snyder gets, and that's just me. I know there's a huge following and release the Snyder Cut and all that nonsense, so... Yeah, we'll talk about
want a Snyder cut of that movie?
No, of the Batman and all of that. So,
dude, no offense to the guy, the Snyder cut was no better.
Yeah, and cropping it to make it look like IMAX when it's not, it just looks like 4:3. No, don't agree with that. That's just me. So I'm going to tell you what I watched, Mike. I'm going to probably do this in reverse order, actually. So I normally go through 3 or 4 classics. So just for a little setup, we have everything ready for trick-or-treaters. It's usually myself, my wife, and my sister-in-law, Perva, that comes over, and we kind of enjoy Halloween together, which is really, really nice. And we also put Frida, my little dog that's behind me now, in a little witch's hat, and she hated it, but it looked adorable. So I'll send you a picture of that. But yeah, we watched a few classics. The last one we watched was A Nightmare on Elm Street, and...
Good choice.
I bought the box set, and it was... Sorry, I'm going to cough again.
Today's the day! Sorry. It's a meme about COVID.
Oh, yeah. God, yeah, that's another nightmare. But yeah, I bought the Nightmare on Elm Street box set because I used to have severe nightmares. As a child, when I watched these because of my eldest brother, Michael... and yeah, it's his fault. I had severe nightmares as a child. It wasn't anything else, thankfully. But yeah, I'm so sorry.
I told you I poisoned you.
Yeah,
don't much longer,
from
man.
A distance. So yeah, I used to have severe nightmares watching on the Elm Street films, and I met Robert Englund at this festival thing years ago. And there's a photograph of him with the glove over my head, ripping my scalp off. That's what it looked like.
Oh my
and
God.
He's an absolutely awesome guy. If you ever meet him, an absolutely wonderful person to talk to about horror. If you're a fan of horror of his, super accommodating, lovely guy. And yeah, so we watched the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and there's so much history to it. And because of that film, New Line was born, and New Line produced mega movies like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So yeah, it's thanks to Nightmare on Elm Street that a lot of other huge movies were made, and that's one of the scariest things I used to see. But watching it back now, it's not scary anymore to me. But I see the kind of craft. I look at the filmmaking craft now because that's kind of what I get into more, is kind of making horror. And yeah, for a first movie for Wes Craven, what a genius, rest in peace, but what a genius he was. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. The lighting, the production on a micro budget, micro budget for the time. Yeah, an absolutely wonderful film. And then what I normally do is throw a couple of films that I've never seen before. So we watched something called Blackwell Ghost. Don't know if you've heard of this.
Oh no, I haven't heard of that.
But there's 5 or 6 films in this series, but they're not all connected to this Blackwell Ghost. So we've only seen, I think, 2 of them so far, and it's about this haunted house, and it's a documentary, and I'm very skeptical because I don't think it is documentary. but I've not looked it up online because I don't want it kind of spoil for myself. So I'd recommend Blackwell Ghost. Brilliantly put together. I think it's one filmmaker and his wife, and he sets cameras up and records sounds. It's very much like Paranormal Activity, but he goes to this particular house. He's created a documentary about this ghost that stays there, lives there, about this child murderer. So basically, it's connected to Nightmare on Elm Street in many ways. But yeah, check that out. Blackwell Ghost. That's quite good. And I was looking at the corner of my eye, or looked through my fingers to watch it. And the next one we watched, or the second one we watched, but obviously this is in reverse order, was Fright Night. And for Halloween, it wouldn't be the same Halloween wouldn't be the same for me if I didn't watch Fright Night. Because for me,
the original or the remake?
Oh no, not the remake. Oh my god.
Okay, just clarifying here.
So glad you asked me
I was going to berate you.
Yeah, I've watched that, and it's a disgusting remake because you cannot remake an 80s classic. It doesn't work because it's so entwined with a decade. It doesn't work. It never will work, which I'm quite happy with. I love it when a remake of something I love is a disaster. But yeah, the original Fright Night, I think I'm going to say 84. I'm not going to look that up. But the original Fright Night, a wonderful film about someone that sees a vampire next door and his obsession with that vampire. Yep. And it has some of the best music cues and pieces of music you'll ever hear in 80s cinema. It's not melancholy for me because I didn't really live the 80s. I was born in the 80s, 82, but I wasn't kind of a teenager in the 80s. So it's more of I feel connected to the film in a really kind of creative way, and there's so much about it I love, and I'd love to put into my own work. Like Roddy McDowall was part of my childhood with watching Planet of the Apes series, and he was a great Columbo villain. He plays effectively Van Helsing, but he's not called. He's got, I think, Peter Vance. I didn't have to look over there. Peter Vance. I'm sure it's Peter Vance. But an amazing kind of this kid that sees this vampire thinks he's actually a vampire killer. He's just a TV actor from dated horror film. So yeah, that's Fright Night. I absolutely love that. And my last one for Halloween was, we watched these in the day and Halloween night, so we kind of watched these back to back, is Monkey Shines. Have you ever seen Monkey Shines?
I have not.
So Monkey Shines is from George Romero, and we all know George Romero for basically creating the zombie genre.
I love him.
Cinema.
I'm surprised I never watched it.
So it's about a quadriplegic man who obviously he has an accident. He can only use his mouth and talk. He can't move his limbs at all. And a very good friend of his who works in a science lab who experiments on monkeys gives him a monkey to assist him in his life. I won't say what, but this monkey is very intelligent for unscrupulous science reasons. And yeah, very twisted, but an interesting George Romero film. The lead actor is also in Californication. I think he's a very good friend of David Duchovny, but he's excellent as a quadriplegic character. But yeah, all of that I think is tastefully done and brilliantly performed. The lead actor is excellent in the film. But yeah, that's Monkey Shines. But yeah, one I missed because I've kind of all my Blu-rays and the ridiculousness that is my film collection, physical media, is one that I'm going to highlight, but I didn't watch, was Vamp. You ever seen Vamp?
I haven't seen it. No, I know of it.
It's about two teenagers that go to a club late at night, and the club is basically occupied by dancing vampires.
Nice.
And it's where the idea for the club in From Dusk Till Dawn, where that's taken from, where they go there and it's full of vampires. It's from Vamp, basically. Grace Jones is the lead vampire, and she's amazing in it. That's on Amazon in the UK. It might be on Amazon in US and Canada.
I'll have to look and see if it's here, or else I might use my VPN and see if I can get into UK Amazon.
Absolutely, yeah. So if there's any sponsors like NordVPN would like to come on board, we'll highly recommend it.
Yeah, send us some money. We'll talk more about you.
Absolutely.
I will say that we did start the new Candyman because last year we watched Candyman as one of our Halloween films, like the original.
That's a beautifully crafted film. I think that's amazing.
Oh, it was. The only thing I think we were questioning about the original is like, so he lives in a black neighborhood, and there's all this stuff about, you know, subjugation of black people, and yet he's haunting a black person. Sure. So there was a little problem with it, like when we watched it last year. Now we're like, okay, Jordan Peele, you have your own new.
Oh no, I think the classic, the original with Tony Todd.
That's, the old one.
I love. That's the one I was referencing. Sorry, I love that. I'm not a huge fan of the Jordan Peele scripted one.
No, the Jordan Peele's the one we watched or started watching this year, but we were just wondering if Jordan Peele's Candyman will touch on the issues in the original and explain them in a way that makes sense based on the motivations of the Candyman himself.
Yeah, I was a little bit nonplussed. Like, I'm open-minded to.
Oh, you've already seen it?
Yeah, I was like okay. Like I'll never watch it again, but I'll watch the original, the 92 one. I think it's 92.
Yeah, well, that's the one we watched last year.
Yeah, God, that's wonderful though. It's really wonderful.
It's a fantastic movie. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, you know, like a lot of movies that made back then, there are always going to be issues. Like, for example, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, saying the F words in regards to homosexuals. So, you know, it's not meant to be malicious, but it just doesn't age well. So there are some themes that in the original Candyman that my wife and I didn't feel aged that well. So we were wondering if Jordan Peele would be able to, I'm not going to say correct it. It's not really about correcting because it's there. It's just explain the motivations of the Candyman a little better so we can understand what came before.
Did you finish it?
No, that's what I was saying. That's why I can't include it in my list. We started it, but it was so late and we were so tired, and I had some wine, so I was like, so we went to bed. I
would say a good majority of your questions you have will be answered.
Even if it's not the best movie, I'm glad that they were answered. So before we end the episode, I actually have a question for you. So have you heard about the new, it's not called Child's Play, it's called Chucky, but the new Chucky TV show?
Yeah.
So you had mentioned, like, usually when they try to remake things, it doesn't go very well. And I don't know if you saw the Blumhouse Child's Play. That was a disaster.
Is that the one Mark Hamill, the voice?
I think so, yeah. The one where Chucky's kind of like a robotic toy.
Yeah. I didn't like that at all. It missed the mark massively. It's like someone trying to remake an 80s movie. They missed the mark massively.
It's like Total Recall when they remade it. You know?
That's a disaster. That's not horror, but it's a horror of a film.
It's a nightmare of a film. I mean, honestly, or like the movie Wanted of Angelina Jolie. It's like, if you read the comics, it's nothing like the movie. Why the heck do you even have the name Wanted? Just like, you know, the Blumhouse Child's Play. I honestly, if they didn't call it Child's Play and that wasn't Chucky, and they just had him look a little different, that's actually an interesting story. But their attempt to then, you know, shoehorn the original essence into it failed. You know what I mean? So I haven't watched Chucky, like the new show, but I'm not even sure if it's out, right?
Yeah, I think it's 2 episodes in. I'm not sure.
Okay. But
I'm
I
not
am
sure
actually
how to watch it in the UK, but I'd really like to watch it.
Yes, and it's shot here in Toronto. I'm not going to say how I know. I mean, okay, fine. I'm sure you can look it up and it'll say Toronto, but there are reasons why I knew about this show prior to it even like being announced. But anywho, yeah, I'm actually excited to kind of see if they're able to use a TV show format to recapture the magic of the original Child's Play movies.
Child's Play has a very odd relationship with the UK, because it was seen as a video nasty, because a child called Jamie Bulger was murdered by 2 other children that were slightly older, and they blamed the Chucky films, or I think it was Child's Play 2 in particular.
Oh my!
They took this child onto railroad track, and it was kind of an awful murder. And yeah, it was basically they blame the film. And for me, it's not so black and white that you can just blame an individual movie, because I watched that as a child and I didn't get turned into a murderer. So there's a whole conversation for that. But yeah, I think, and I met Brad Dourif once, and he's a wonderful, quiet, unassuming, amazing person. And I talked to him about Chucky, I talked to him about Deadwood, working with Ian McShane and a few other things, and I've got a signed image of Chucky somewhere here. Nice. But yeah, a great guy, and Mark Hamill's great, and I'm kind of tired with huge movies, animated movies, being voiced by massive actors. And the first time that really happened was Shark Tale, Will Smith, the voice, and there's quite a few other big actors in that. And Pixar didn't used to do that. They used to put proper voice actors, like Hanna-Barbera, like really high caliber voice actors. And I think Brad Dourif, I think Mark Hamill's wonderful. I think he makes some brilliant stuff. We'll highlight Village of the Damned in the future, with the John Carpenter movie. He plays a priest in. But yeah, I think it was a kind of a missed. I think off the mark with choosing him as a voice, because he's the Joker, and everyone knows he's a great voice actor and a popular guy. But Brad Dourif smashed it. I can't remember the character's name, the murderer that gets put. He does the chant. And he puts his soul into the toy in the toy shop. I think as he dies, I think it is. Maybe that's something we can talk about as the Chucky movie or the series.
Yeah,
and,
maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I totally agree with you on that. I think it was just a bit of a mess, really, and not much fun compared to the original. So yeah, I think we'll end it there nicely.
Yeah. And I apologize to our listeners if we don't have an episode 3, because I have to ship the antidote to you to reverse the poisoning that I did earlier today. Hopefully it makes it in time, but if we don't have an episode 3, you know exactly why.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Michael. And I'm not sure what this episode is going to be called yet. We'll call it something interesting like the last one.
So what is a serial killer's favorite shoe? White Vans.
Jesus. I knew this was going to become a thing.